All right, we interrupt my pipe laying down stream thing to talk about combat philosophy and add-on disarmament in Midnight, aka they're killing all our add-ons and the game is being dumbed down and yada yada yada. let's take a read. As we move into the beta phase of Midnight testing and invite a much larger wave of players in to experience the expansion and provide feedback, I wanted to take time to recap the planned changes to add-on capabilities and the accompanying broader changes to combat and encounters. This will be a long post, but stick with me, there is a lot to cover. Oh, they're not kidding, there's a lot. This is going to be long. Strap in, buddies. Let's go. Over the course of the past year, we've been talking about add-on changes, but that communication has been spread across multiple videos, posts, interviews, and ongoing conversations with add-on authors. This fragmentation has contributed to confusion and concern across the community. Definitely. The main goal of this article is to dispel as much of this confusion as possible and hopefully provide reassurance around these planned changes. To be clear, it is entirely natural for players who have spent countless hours experiencing Azeroth through the lens of their favorite add-ons to feel nervous about big changes to that ecosystem. While some players who use few to no add-ons may be shrugging their shoulders, for many others, this may be the single largest change in an expansion has ever made to World of Warcraft. We take none of this lightly. Alright, so add-on disarmament. Why? So if we know this is a risky change, why are we making it? For over 20 years now, the customizability of the World of Warcraft user interface, or the UI, has been a pillar of the game, allowing players to use add-ons to tailor the look and feel the game to suit their preferences. Numerous improvements to the base UI over the years have been inspired and informed by these community efforts. But the power we give to add-on authors has always come with the risk of tools that can distort moment-to-moment gameplay, which has led to the development team to restrict add-ons capabilities several times over the years. Excuse me. In past incidents, we typically were able to address issues by limiting add-ons access to some specific functionality, like add-ons automatically selecting abilities and targets in the game's early days, like, not Discord, it's, decursive, there you go, thank you. Or by using player positions and clever math to build a radar overlay a decade later. This time around, however, the cause for concern is subtler and more pervasive. Over the past few expansions, the community has increasingly shifted from a focus on add-ons that display information in a particular way to add-ons that process that information to drive combat decisions and recommendations. As an RPG with cast times and cooldowns governing most actions, a huge portion of, quote, skill in WoW has always rested in moment-to-moment decision-making. By its nature, a computer with access to complete information about the current combat state in WoW, as in allies and enemies' buffs and debuffs, active casts, cooldown states, health, and more, will be able to make the correct decision far faster than any human and can do so with unerring accuracy. Such add-ons move beyond the realm of personal preference, offering an objective advantage in moment-to-moment combat. As a result, players often will be told to download specific add-ons to improve their class performance, or to defeat a specific encounter. Guilds, or even pickup groups, commonly require the use of specific add-ons for mid-combat coordination. While we have never designed for add-ons, in the sense of making a specific encounter or class mechanic with the intent that players would write add-ons to solve a given puzzle, we have inevitably had to design around them for the past several expansions. We have to accept that even in non-cutting edge content, a majority of players will turn to any available tools to make things easier. For example, when we design a boss in a normal or heroic difficulty raid, we have a tuning target in mind. While we risk causing frustration if we overshoot the mark, when we release an encounter that puts up very little resistance, we often get feedback that the boss was unsatisfying. In a similar vein, when we're designing a class mechanic, we're trying to express class fantasy while also offering engaging moment-to-moment gameplay. But with add-ons instantly solving a raid coordination challenge or collapsing a nuanced combat decision into a simple binary, we would get feedback, supported by data, that our design felt flat. And so we would add an extra layer of complexity to a class mechanic or tighten an encounter's tuning to give players less time to react in order to deliver the level of challenge and engagement that players are expecting. But that shift has left people who prefer to not use these add-ons at a clear disadvantage, making WoW less approachable in the process. And so we're looking to level the playing field. The guiding philosophy for our approach is straightforward. Add-ons should no longer offer a competitive advantage in WoW combat. They should remain as robust tools for aesthetic customization and personalized presentation of information, but they should not be able to make a player more likely to succeed in combat against an encounter or another player. I've seen discussion around the word competitive, with some understandably noting that they aren't playing in the MDI or trying to get into the Hall of Fame or arena leaderboards, and wondering why a design shift about, quote, competitive advantage should apply to them. But the consequences of add-ons creep into all facets of the game, and this uneven playing field is experienced by all players, whether someone is trying to defeat Dementius on normal difficulty with their friends and family guild, trying to get a foothold in Mythic Plus, or trying to be the best of the best. So what's changing? In pursuing these philosophical goals, we have tried to take a surgical approach that limits add-ons' ability to process information, with the least possible impact on their ability to display it. Our engineering team has regularly been sharing updates to the API, or short for the Application Programming Interface, with add-on authors, but a simplified explanation of what we're changing is as follows. Information about the current combat state is designated as a secret value that can be displayed by add-ons but not known by them. In essence, combat events are in a black box. Add-ons can change the size or shape of the box, and they can paint it a different color, but what they can't do is actually look inside the box. So in Midnight, add-ons can still change the location of your buffs and debuffs, and the size and shape of the associated frames. They can change the size and shape and texture of enemy nameplates and cast bars, and many similar UI elements. But they can't know with certainty whether you or your target have a specific debuff currently active, or what the cooldown of a given ability is. I think that's a hard distinction for people to really understand, and I know that it's going to be hard for folks to really grasp that, I think. We debuted our alpha test with the strictest version of this rule set, wanting to avoid a frustrating cat and mouse situation with add-on authors pointing out loopholes in our logic and needing us to keep tightening the things down to preserve a level playing field. That's kind of what I mean from earlier conversations when I said, oh, they're just knocking out the entire bathroom and now they're slowly rebuilding it, something like that. Whereas we have historically disabled all add-ons in the early weeks of expansion alpha testing, this time we invited numerous add-on developers to the first wave of our test. We wanted to give them a head start on updating their add-ons to hear early feedback on pain points. That input has been invaluable so far, and led us to loosen restrictions in numerous areas that were causing needless collateral damage. Even with this more focused approach, we knew that limiting add-ons' ability to parse combat events in real time would have a significant impact on a wide range of popular and benign add-ons, such as damage meters that offer immediate insight to performance, boss ability timers that have been part of a rating since the very earliest days of WoW, and tools that make the game accessible to players with a range of disabilities. So alongside the quote secret values project, our team has also been working on building up native solutions in many of these areas, as well as creating new API hooks to allow add-on authors to access protected information in ways that don't risk competitive integrity. So, this is them building add-ons, but also giving access to, add-on authors to make better stuff, because they will make better stuff. We've been rolling out the base UI features over the course of the year, and that will continue during the Midnight Beta. The upcoming 11.17 introduced the assisted highlight and one-button rotation tools to help players learn new specializations and improve overall accessibility. We implemented an early working version of a cooldown manager in the 11.15 update, which sucked, knowing that it needed a lot of iteration, but wanting to ensure that we're getting all the needed feedback in a live environment, although it sucked. Midnight will feature a much refined version, we hope. Midnight includes a new boss warning system, which allows players to see which boss mechanics are upcoming, while leaving the choice of how to handle them in the player's hands. We're in the process of adding a range of native accessibility improvements, such as built-in combat audio alert system that allows players to use text-to-speech and other audio cues for everything from player health to common combat events. And over the course of beta, we'll be releasing improvements to our raid frames for healers, a built-in damage meter tool with server-side validation, and more. While we work on limiting the ability of add-ons to give a high-end performance advantage, we want to ensure that the baseline WoW experience is as approachable and accessible as ever. We know that if we are limiting add-ons functionality, we need to give all players the information they need to succeed, and we need to tune our game accordingly. Along with much clearer visual and audio telegraphs, that might also mean having an extra second or two to react to a mechanic, or fewer things occurring simultaneously to keep cognitive load manageable. Our end goal is for any given piece of content in Midnight, whether it's a Mythic 10 dungeon or a normal difficulty raid boss, a tier 8 delve, and so on and so forth, to be roughly as challenging as it was in prior expansions, but for that challenge to be more fairly distributed across the player base. That's one of the tougher things that commentators are having with this whole conversation, because we're thinking of combat as it is right now without add-ons, and we don't quite have, raid testing is going to happen. It's going to start happening soon. It's being scheduled, but pretty soon we're going to get a much better feel of just how the combat is going to change without, and then we won't have add-ons with it. So we'll see. Why are some cosmetic add-ons breaking? I'd like to take a moment to address a technical nuance here. Many players have expressed confusion at seeing reports of some popular cosmetic add-ons no longer function as expected in Midnight. If we're only focusing on combat calculations, why are we seemingly breaking an add-on that only changes the appearance of player and target frames? That was never our intent, but there are a few reasons why that might be the case currently in Midnight test builds. Oh boy. The myriad authors who have created add-ons for WoW over the years have each chosen from among countless different approaches to structuring their code. As a result, two add-ons that provide nearly identical player-facing functionality might be quite dissimilar under the hood, and thus be affected very differently by the changes coming in Midnight. Some add-ons can and will work just fine in Midnight, but they have to be updated by their author. The work that they need to do may be very straightforward, or it may take a more significant amount of time. Every expansion in WoW's history has required tweaks to all but the simplest of add-ons, thus the out-of-date add-ons pop up with each new major patch. Other add-ons, however, rely on implementations that don't merely reskin pieces of the WoW UI, but rather rebuild them from scratch, using raw data about the current combat state. Unfortunately, that particular approach, while by no means inherently wrong, has limitations under our new secret value system. While there are some areas where we cannot bypass these limitations without opening the door to computational logic, we are trying to do everything possible to minimize collateral damage. That is to say, there will be damage. For example, recognizing that many players enjoy abstract and custom ways of representing their current count of runes on a Death Knight or Holy Power on a Paladin, we recently made all class secondary resources fully non-secret. Woo woo. We're committed to continue our work with add-on authors and with the community at large to provide support for robust customization within this new framework. We are more than halfway done, by the way. So, add-on disarmament, why now? Another common question I've heard is, why do this now? Why not wait until all of our built-in functionality is fully polished and has had multiple rounds of feedback? Very good question. When I first started talking about our concerns with the impact of add-ons on the modern game nearly a year ago, we were still evaluating the feasibility of a solution, as well as the right time frame. But we also wanted to gauge community sentiment around the general issue. WoW's history is littered with examples of the dev team trying to solve perceived problems that most players weren't particularly concerned about, and we wanted to reassure ourselves that we weren't headed down that same path here. We were happy to see a lot of positive reactions to the discussion. I'm not going to pretend that there was unanimous support, but the average take was something along the lines of, well, it'd be great if add-ons weren't required, but I'm not sure if I trust Blizzard to pull it off. And that's very fair. This is a huge and challenging project, and I don't expect blind faith in the absence of results. Convinced that we were on the right track with the aims of the project, we shifted to building a roadmap of what it would take to pull off this transformation. The team found that progress on the UI engineering front was moving faster than expected, both in terms of the secret value system and in terms of implementing some of the replacements we knew we would need. That made the readiness for the launch of Midnight a real possibility. These changes pretty much have to be made on an expansion boundary, allowing us to build a full slate of content and systems that are meant for a post-add-on disarmament world. Trying to ask players to relearn content mid-expansion without the tools they were using the day before would be a surefire recipe for unhappiness. And no matter how much we improve our native UI, we can't build mechanics that are trivially solvable by add-ons and expect that players won't use those tools so long as they still function. In the end, we're faced with the decision of either signing up for a couple more years of designing our content around powerful add-ons in ways that make it impossible for us to serve our whole community, or moving forward now and finding solutions within this new paradigm. And so Addon disarmament is what's coming in midnight, and the team is fully committed to giving the community all support required, tweaking the logic around what's restricted, and making new access points available to Addon developers in order to make this transition successful. The sort of TLDR is we changed our mind because it looks like we're going faster than we thought. One of the thoughts that I remember I had when they did decide to like really push forward with this, like I was actually one of those people who was like, hey dude, why don't they just do everything first, you know, and then let people kind of get a feel of it. It's going to be a little bit awkward because we're going to have, you know, nerfed mechanics and all these UI things, and we still have all our add-ons, and players are going to give feedback, oh man, this is like the crappiest tier ever because it's so easy, because you know, this add-on tells me instantly where to go, and now I'm waiting like 4 seconds to like do it. This is stupid. You know, we would get like that sort of feedback, which, you know, maybe some people wouldn't mind, but I think that's what they're trying to avoid too. So, all right, so what's next? As we kick off beta, we're excited to see a ton of new players get access to midnight content, but we're especially eager to see structured testing of the endgame. The changes to add-ons don't come in a vacuum. They're complemented by a new approach to building raid encounters, dungeon pulls, combat mechanics, and more. So we're looking forward to seeing players have that holistic experience, and we're looking for feedback not just on our UI or evolving add-on capabilities, but on aspects of endgame combat that might feel unclear or unfair without some of the tools you're accustomed to using. We're going to be watching closely and listening to feedback throughout the beta. To us, the quote beta designation means that we have the entirety of the game's content ready for testing, but it is far from an endpoint to midnight development. We'll be agile and adaptive in our close partnership with our community as we roll out regular updates in the weeks and months ahead, improving our base UI experience, adjusting our tuning or presentation of mechanics, and adding new functionality for add-on developers. Yeah, we'll see. Thanks for the stuff. More lip service, cool. It's cool that they did try to condense everything that they have been saying into like a single post so that people can react to the whole thing. Undoubtedly, people are going to cherry pick and just kind of look at one thing and then refuse to like acknowledge like the rest of it. But I get aside from the little spattering statements that I made throughout this, like the big thing is, testing is coming. I do recall seeing a raid test schedule for, I believe, next week. I don't know about Mythic Plus testing. I don't recall if they had talked about that, but that's going to be a big deal as well, because obviously Mythic Plus is like a big thing going on. Delve testing is also going to be important. That's going to start, I believe, next week, and we'll just kind of go from there. I think one of the bigger concerns right now is with the add-ons that really don't have like a combat related, they don't have a relationship with like actual combat. Like I think most recently people were talking about how there are no chat add-ons that work. So I'm going to be curious to see like how Blizzard handles those. Although I do think that at least what their focus is on right now is how it translates into actual combat and all these add-on changes. And that chat might be something that's arguably easier to deal with. If not, they might just like lock people out, but that's beyond my knowledge set. But what do you guys think? Are you guys convinced, or is this corporal lawyer speak all over again? Let me know in a comment. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.